few years ago, a young family living in the Midwest experienced a frightening tornado warning. The sky grew dark, the wind picked up, and the sirens began to sound. The parents quickly gathered their two young children and hurried them to the basement. A few minutes later, the power went out, leaving them in complete darkness, with only the sound of the storm roaring overhead. The youngest daughter clung tightly to her father's arm and cried, "Are we going to be okay?" Her father wrapped his arms around her and said gently, "Stay with me, I will be right here." Even as the storm grew louder, she began to calm down. Not because the storm changed, but because her father's presence gave her strength. And when the storm had passed, they climbed back upstairs. The neighborhood was damaged. Trees were down, shingles missing, debris everywhere. But they realized something important, that they had made it through because they stayed together and because she held on to someone who loved her. That image, the father holding his frightened daughter, is exactly what today's readings invite us to understand about God. In the first reading, the prophet Malachi describes the coming day of the Lord. For those who reject God, it will be a difficult day. But for the faithful, Malachi gives a beautiful promise. The Son of Justice will arise with healing in its wings. And this, my friends, is a message of hope. It tells us that God's light will break into the darkness, that God's healing will overcome what is broken, and that God's justice will rise like the morning sun after a long night. And even when life feels confusing or unfair, Malachi reminds us that the storm will not have the last word. God will. In the second reading, St. Paul speaks to people who had grown tired and discouraged. Some of them had even stopped working and stopped doing their share because they believed that Jesus would return at any minute. And Paul reminds them that it is faithfulness that shows up in the ordinary parts of life, not just in the big, dramatic moments. He says, "In toil and drudgery, night and day we worked to present ourselves as a model for you to imitate." Essentially, what St. Paul is telling the Thessalonians and us is to pray even when you don't feel like it. Do the right thing when it's difficult. Show patience and kindness even when you're tired. And stay committed to your responsibilities. Faith, therefore, grows through perseverance in small, simple actions. In the gospel, Jesus describes events that would frighten anyone: wars, earthquakes, famines, persecution, and divisions. And we hear that while the disciples were admiring the beauty of the temple, Jesus tells them that one day it will fall. Talk about a Debbie Downer. Why does Jesus feel the need to say that? Because he wants their faith and ours to rest not on buildings, not on security, not on comfort, but on him alone. And so he gives two powerful promises. Do not be terrified, and by your perseverance, you will secure your lives. My friends, Jesus does not promise us a life without storms. He promises his presence in every storm. Today's readings highlight three important truths. Number one, storms will come. No life is free from suffering, fear, or uncertainty. Number two, God is always with us. His healing rises like the sun. His grace sustains us, and his presence gives us courage. And three, perseverance is essential. Faith is not a feeling. Faith is a daily decision to trust, to pray, to love, and to keep going. My brothers and sisters, each of us carries storms. Storms in our families, storms in our health, storms in our finances, storms in our relationships, storms in our hearts, and storms in the world around us. Jesus is not asking us to ignore these storms. Rather, he asks us not to face them alone. So how do we do that? By turning to prayer, to the Eucharist, to God's Word, to one another, and to remain faithful in small things. And if we can persevere in those things, then slowly our faith becomes stronger than the storm. And that little girl in the basement, she didn't make it through the storm because she understood it. She didn't survive because she had control over it. She made it through because she stayed close to her Father, because the one holding her was stronger than the storm around her. And my friends, that is exactly how God holds us. When life shakes, when fear rises, when we face uncertainty, the Father says to us the same words spoken to that family in the basement. Stay with me. I am right here. The winds may roar, the walls may tremble, but the Father's arms never move. And when the storm finally passes, and it will, we will step into the bright healing of light of God's mercy, the very light that Malachi promised. The Sun of Justice will arise with healing in its wings. Storms do not last forever, but God's love does. So let us stay close to Him, let us persevere, and trust that God will carry us safely through every storm.